Mcbirdy, and welcome back to another episode of Cinderella Phenomenon. I know it's been a while since I posted an episode, but that's just because there was some weird computer issues I was dealing with, and I wasn't able to play some games that I wanted to play because they weren't on the other computer and I didn't have my saves, but my computer's back up and running, and so I'm able to play some of these games again, which is nice. So we are back to me trying to get Rod to like me, I guess. So I guess we'll continue. At the sound of my approaching footsteps, Rod turns and looks at me. He scowls but does not say anything. Should I tell him off? I'll tell him off, why not? The words spill out of me before I can even think of them. What have I done now to make you angry with me? Nothing. He turns away and I glare as I follow closely behind him. You expect me to believe that? You can at least look at me when I am talking to you. I reach out a hand to his elbow and pull him back so that he is facing me. Rod. But the words die in my throat when I see the expression on his face. His face is red and he refuses to look me in the eye. My surprise causes me to release him. Rod quickly turns around and begins to walk away. Why is he blushing? I am left to stare dumbly after him. What is wrong with him? Normally he's not so afraid to speak his mind. I frown as I feel a dull ache throbbing somewhere deep in my chest. What is this? Why do I feel sad? Normally Rod's distance does not make me feel like this. And yet now, am I really so sad that he does not want to speak with me? I shake my head and take a deep breath to still my mind. It is better not to think about it. Okay. Oh. End of chapter! Chapter 8! Man, I wonder how many chapters these go on for. It is the day of the ball, and I am waiting for Emmeline to finish her last dance rehearsal. The lesson was over an hour ago, but Emmeline remains here to continue practicing the steps. Meanwhile, I am preoccupied with thoughts of Rod's curse. I cannot believe that Rod traded his voice for a title, so the reason the king was able to find Ophelia was because of Rod. It is a little difficult to wrap my head around the implications, but one thing bothers me. Rod told me why he has the curse, but he gave no explanation as to how to break it. How did it go in the original fairy tale? The original fairy tale, the Little Mermaid dies. If you read the actual fairy tale, The Little Mermaid, she dies. She basically turns into sea foam, and that's it. Because she was like, oh, he doesn't love me, I love him, so I sacrifice myself, and it doesn't matter. Because he falls in love with some other chick. So it doesn't really turn out very well. Because, again, he saves her, but she thinks some other dude saved him, and now she's falling in love with the other dude. So you can't break the curse the normal way of the fairy tale. You can't. Otherwise he's gonna die if you try. Emmeline finishes up the last steps of her routine before walking over to me. I hand her the glass of water I was holding for her. Thank you, Lucette. Emmeline must notice my curiosity because she stops to look at me quizzically. Is something the matter? I read a little bit of that fairy tale but never finished it. Can you tell me the whole story of the Little Mermaid? The Little Mermaid? Emmeline takes a seat on one of the chairs bordering the throne room and gestures for me to take the one opposite her. Telling a fairy tale is always a good way to wind down. Once upon a time, there was a mermaid that fell in love with a handsome prince. One day, when she swam to the surface of the ocean to find him, she saw that the prince was celebrating his birthday on the grandest ship in the kingdom. The Little Mermaid was captivated by the human party and stayed to watch. Then suddenly, a violent storm hit and the prince was thrown from the ship into the ocean. The Little Mermaid saved the prince and took him safely to shore, but she could not stay long. She eventually had to return to the ocean and leave him on land. This is similar to Viorka's rescue. The Little Mermaid was so in love with the prince that she went to see a witch who offered to trade her a potion that would turn her mermaid's tail into legs. They struck a deal. The mermaid would sacrifice her beautiful voice for legs so that she could live with the prince on land. So in Rod's case, he traded away his voice to become a prince. The stupid fly. However, the sea witch gave the little mermaid a warning and said that if she wasn't able to make the prince fall in love with her, there would be consequences. Consequences? Yes. Namely, if the prince fell in love and married someone else, the mermaid's heart would break and she would dissolve into sea foam. Yeah. I cannot help but recoil. My expression must betray my horror because Emmeline quickly shakes her head. There is no need to be worried. Rod has said that his curse is different from the fairy tale. And you believe him? Emmeline shrugs helplessly as she puts down her now empty glass of water. The fairy tale curse always twists the original fairy tale, right? Besides, it's not as if Rod traded his voice for legs, and I've never heard of a cursed person that dies because they cannot break their curse. That may be true, but Emmeline does not know what Rod traded his voice for. She does not know that he did it to become a prince for Viorica. Rod is already hiding things from her. Is it possible that Rod will die the day Viorica marries Desmond? Later that day, I find Rod in the dining hall. He appears to be inspecting the seating arrangements for the night's banquet. He glances up briefly to look at me before returning his attention to the placards with the guest's name on them. What is it? I've been looking for you all morning. I'm distracted from what I am about to say when I notice Rod switching the position of two placards. I frown as I catch the name on one of them. He is moving Viorica's place at the table. Is he trying to make sure she sits as far away from him as possible? Surely you have better things to do than staying here. What happens if you cannot break your curse? Rod's movements stutter before he shakes his head sharply. That is something you do not need to know. Something aches deep in my chest at Rod's coldness. Please. Rod startles so strongly that he almost drops the placard he's holding. Yeah, she doesn't normally say please. Please tell me. We have been partners for months now. But I've barely... Yes, I know that it is an unusual partnership and that most of our helping each other has been subtle, but I am only one good deed away from breaking my curse while you seem to be no closer to breaking your curse than when we started. I will do whatever I can to help you with your curse, Rod. So please, let me help you. Silence falls. Moments later, Rod sighs and looks away from me. Some unspeakably sad emotion shines through his eyes. Even if I wanted your help, Lucette, there's nothing you can do. Dread settles in the pit of my stomach at Rod's words. Could I be right? Will Rod actually die if he does not manage to break his curse? Emmeline told me the story of the Little Mermaid. She said that the mermaid dies if the prince marries someone else. Rod, when Viorica marries Desmeon, will you... My voice trails off when I hear the sound of the door behind us. Is it Ophelia or the king? Rod rushes forward and grabs me before I can glance back at the door. Ow! I become aware of a weight holding me down to the floor. The impact of the ground against my head blurs my vision, making it impossible for me to see what is happening at first. Am I underneath the dining table? I struggle to try and sit up, but the weight pushes down on me again, forcing me to be still. How does the person walking in not notice them doing this? Quiet. Rod, why did he push me underneath the table? I'm about to ask him aloud when the sound of footsteps silences me. I cannot help but remember what Sir Mithros was saying about rumors. If Rod and I were seen alone together by the servants, the rumors will no doubt get worse. But why is Rod doing this? I stay quiet as the people that enter the dining hall begin to talk. How strange for this place to be empty at this time of day. There is a pause and then another voice speaks up. You better have good news for me, Mithros. Sir Alcester and Sir Mithros? Rod's hands tighten on my shoulders. Everything is as you requested, Sir Alcester. There should be no issues. There better not be. You've disappointed me before, Mithros. I would be careful not to try my patience again. Yes, Sir Alcester. Sir Mithros sounds oddly subservient. But why? The two of them are both ranked equally, and neither of them should have to answer to anyone other than the king. Unless Sir Alcester truly is the witch and is forcing Sir Mithros to obey him with a spell. Wait a few minutes after I leave. We should not be seen together. I do not hear Sir Mithros respond, but I can hear Sir Alcester leaving the room. Sir Mithros sighs out, but is otherwise silent when he leaves the room after a few moments. I exhale fully as the door finally closes behind Sir Mithros. This is bad. I was so engrossed in Sir Alcester and Sir Mithros' conversation that I only just now realized that Rod is hovering over me. Hello, I thought you couldn't see. Hey, are you alright? Are you hurt? You look a little... Rod suddenly pauses as he notices our positions. He stares at me for a few moments, eyes wide. Yeah, that's why. He scrambles out from underneath the dining table, and by the time I do the same, he is standing far away from me, his gaze fixed on the wall. He is bright red. It would be funny if I weren't sure I was the same color. Rod clears his throat. It seems that Sir Alcester really is the witch if he has the ability to make Sir Mithros obey him. Lady Parfait should be told immediately. Rod turns on his heel to leave the dining room. Rod, wait. What? This is urgent, Princess. I can't just... When Viorica marries Desmeon, will you die? Rod pauses for a moment, but I can tell from his pained expression that he will not speak. You're running out of time, Rod. My eyes flit between Sebi and Rod. What does that mean? Nothing. He turns away from me once again and starts walking away. Rod. There must be something in my voice that makes Rod stop because he turns to look at me. Please stop running away from this. What would knowing the answer achieve, Lucette? Though Rod's words are harsh, his tone is soft. There is nothing anyone can do. Leave it alone, Lucette. It's for the best. I cannot help but get mad at Rod's dismissive tone. I move toward him, frowning. How can you say something like that? You are not the only person that will be affected if you keep refusing to do anything to break your curse. Can you imagine what your death would do to your sister? To your mother? Losing you would destroy them. Rod's face suddenly inches away from mine. He places his hands to the wall behind me, caging me in. His face is flushed with anger, but the look in his eyes is tormented. My family has been dealing with the consequences of my actions for the majority of my life. Don't think that I don't know what effect my curse has on the people closest to me. Besides, I don't want to involve you in this too. His voice is a whisper, but I can still hear his words. Rod. Rod pushes away from me and stalks off as I stare after him. He says that, but then he does nothing to try and break his curse. I do not understand him at all. What is stopping him? Alright, and we're gonna go ahead and end the episode right there. If you guys are enjoying the series, please make sure to leave a big like down below. And if you haven't already, please make sure you're subscribed to my channel. That way you can keep up with more updates as I put them out. So thanks again, everyone, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye!